Welcome to the Worst of the Riot podcast. Coming up, when is it ever okay to lie on your resume?
And how the United States disrespected their very first president. And more on the Worst of the Riot podcast.
That's Chris Fowler on ESPN last night. Michigan does it. They finally got that national championship for Coach Harbaugh, their first since 1997, defeating Washington 34-13 in the college football playoff championship last night. Isaiah, still here in his Ohio jacket. You gotta love him. Isaiah, how was that?
Well, I gotta show up for work, don't I?
You do.
I didn't know I could come knock him in today.
No, I just mean you could have worn anything else. But no, you still got pride in your team.
Well, I mean, we're not connected, so.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. What did you make of the game last night?
I mean, it was, per Michigan has been this whole year, it was a stomping.
Yeah.
It was never, Michigan never trailed. It was never close.
Yeah, it was. There's a couple things that happened. I guess you could say this with a lot of championship games, not as much last year's, but a couple things could have gone slightly different early on, and maybe Washington, maybe it's a whole different game.
Maybe it's a touchdown game.
Yeah, but Michigan, they got out to an early lead, a couple big runs from Donovan Edwards, and they had a 2-touchdown lead. They never looked back, and Washington, although they were occasionally able to move the ball, they missed anytime they got a big shot where it was like, this is what you expect from the Washington offense. They missed it, and which is very uncharacteristic of them. But I think that you have to chalk up to Michigan. Great defensive game plan, and they just they had Washington's timing off all night. Michael Penix could never get in a good rhythm, and so yeah, Michigan never had to sweat it out too much, and so a big win. Big win for the Wolverines, and now just so many questions moving forward. Even though everybody, I guess at Michigan they just want to enjoy it, but now the questions loom. Will there ever be an asterisk on this? Will Jim Harbaugh stay or will he go? But today can be about celebrating if you're a Michigan fan, of course.
And then if you're on the other flip of the coin, an Ohio State fan,
yeah.
Obviously you probably weren't cheering for Michigan last night, but I will tell you why. This was exactly how I wanted it to go if Michigan was going to win.
Okay.
I wanted it to be a blowout. I wanted it to be no chance. Washington looked incompetent against Michigan. And the reason I wanted that is because many Buckeye fans know that next year the conference is realigned. Things change. Oregon, USC, Washington enter. And many Buckeyes fans after this season may be a little bit worried, but last night should set you at ease. It's not the same brand of football. It's not even competent. Washington was supposed to be a better version of Ohio State. Last night, Michael Penix Jr. did not look like himself whatsoever. And that, I think, is a complete result of some of the competition he faced this year. Playing against Michigan, one of the best teams, the best team in the country. And the way they do it is with a quarterback who is not incredible. J.J. McCarthy is not Michael Penix. He's not Quinn Ewers. He's not one of the most amazing quarterbacks in college football. But their run game and being able to control the line of scrimmage, it's all that mattered. That's why the only teams that had a chance of beating them was Alabama, Georgia, and on their very best day, Ohio State.
That feels like a little bit of a stretch to be so hopeful as an Ohio State fan after Michigan just won the championship. I think your hope is Jim Harbaugh leaves.
Well, I mean, for me as an Ohio State fan, I wasn't so much worried. I mean, if the only team I have to beat is Michigan every year, I'm fine with that. But when Washington comes, Oregon, USC, with all the realignment, that's the part that everybody's kind of unsure about. Do I think that we'll be in the game with Michigan every year? I mean, we're going to play them every year. We're going to have to learn to win. But with Washington, Oregon, USC, that's where the more competition comes in, the more question marks. If we lose one game a year, that's a pretty incredible season.
Yeah, well, it all, of course, is different next year, too, with the not just realignment, but with 12-team playoff. Things are going to be way, way, way different. But this year, Michigan, clearly superior. They really only had... I guess you could say the Alabama game was the only game where they were truly challenged. So, and even Alabama, didn't play, or Michigan played much better than Alabama. So, congratulations to them. Now all the questions begin, but a big day for Michigan.
Do yourself a favor and follow The Riot on Instagram @RadioU Riot.
We're in the midst of useless knowledge. Today's theme is all about Bob Denver, a.k.a. Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, because it's his birthday today. Isaiah has your question.
He was drafted during his main days on our screens, but stayed on all of his shows, thanks to one particular part of his body, because it was due to being problematic. He was unfit for military service.
I have obviously no idea. So I'm just gonna guess, and I'm gonna guess something that's personal to me. I think he maybe he was like me. Maybe his eyes are really bad, problematic eyes.
I was looking for a problematic neck.
What was so bad about his neck?
I assume the only thing I can imagine he doesn't have a good turn radius. Maybe he's not able to see what's coming.
He might have had a crick in it.
He had a blind spot.
You ever get a crick in your neck?
I think everybody's had a crick in their neck before. But I don't think that was why. Let's do some rapid fire. What was Gilligan's first name?
What would be a name in the 60s? Probably like Eugene.
The answer I was looking for was Willie. Willie Gilligan.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What was the name of the ship Gilligan and company were marooned on?
It's in the song, isn't it? I don't know. Marlin.
I was looking for the SS Minnow.
Minnow. It's close.
Let's wrap it up. How long was the trip Gilligan and company were scheduled to take?
3 hours. That, I remember that
nice.
from the song. Yes.
Way to end it on a win there.
There we go. How many episodes of Gilligan's Island have you seen?
I think 0.
0? You know what color shirt does he wear, you know?
He wears green, obviously.
No, I think it's usually red. He's got like that sun hat on, you know? Like a fisherman's cap.
Hudson, I've never seen the show.
You've never seen the show. You did all use his knowledge about it.
It's a big thing today.
The only thing Isaiah loves more than the riot is himself.
Someone who probably still lives with his mother and hates himself.
You're listening to The Riot on Radio U.
Yeah, I think I got a new rule of thumb here. Rule of thumb. If you've drank enough that you're considering putting your entire body into a giant urn, you've drank too much. Can you roll with that?
I think if in any area of life you're deciding to get into a giant urn, it's probably a bad idea.
Well, my thought is that most sober people wouldn't ever think to get into a giant urn.
Well, you got to think. Have you ever been around a giant urn? If you can fit inside of something weird, you're going to jump in.
You're tempted, aren't you? Especially if you're a genie or a snake. Because that's usually what's inside giant pottery.
Like if it was anything that's oversized. You're going to try to see if you can fit inside of it. Like it could be like a large French fry cup. I wonder if a human could fit in that. I'm going to get in it.
So the problem with that thought process, it has now been borne out online because we have a guy here, Connor Paget. It actually happened at a New Year's party. So obviously drinks were flowing. He wasn't the only one that had too much, but he was the only one at this party that decided to get into a giant urn. But the problem is, once he got in, he could not get out. And so there's now video, you can find it online, of this kid. He's trapped from about the waist down in a giant urn, a giant vase. And he could not get out. And so many questions do emerge. How did he get in there if he wasn't able to get out is one of my main ones. One a lot of people asked is, then once he got stuck, why not simply break the urn?
Well, that's what ended up happening.
That is eventually what ended up happening, but it took them based off of the videos, it took them a surprisingly long time to get to that.
Well, because you don't want to break the giant urn. That's probably really expensive.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
I'm sure they were like, "Can you just get out of it like you got in?
Yeah,
we're not going to go break in this urn."
To which he responds in the video with plenty of expletives and saying, "I've tried." You know, he's like, "My knees are stuck." Everybody's like, yeah, his knees, that was the problem. His knees were in there, and your knees aren't made of jelly. His knees weren't made of jelly, although, yet again, how did he get those knees inside the urn? So, but
Well,
there's
sometimes you can get into things you can't get out of.
clearly.
Think about putting on a ring, you know? Sometimes that ring slides on real nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't slide off nearly as nice.
Yeah, so I don't know. I am curious. Do you think they tried like buttering him up? They tried buttering the urn? There's no video of that.
Well, I
There
don't think
is-
it was his stomach that was the issue. It was his knees inside. He couldn't get them straight. He couldn't stand up
Yeah.
because his
Actually-
knees were so cooked up in there.
You know what? I've been in a similar situation actually. Now, granted, I was like 7 years old, but I got myself trapped in like coils of cable where they were all, wrapped around in a circle, and I got myself down in, and you like crunch down your knees, and then I couldn't get out.
So you got stuck in a giant slinky?
Well, it was similar, yes.
Yes.
I guess it was more like it wasn't as bouncy, but yes, big spools of cable.
The other thing that's wild is you think about like New Year's Eve. What a fun night like you get to have.
Yeah.
And he ruined his entire New Year's Eve by making this joke. It feels like an
Yeah.
I think you should leave skit. He's like, I
It
can't
does.
get out of the urn. I can't get out. And then
Yeah.
you're in it the whole night of New Year's Eve.
I think you should leave. He would be the one saying, "No, you can't break it."
Yeah.
He would
Yes.
be the one. I have one last question. Who would you rather be? Because yesterday we talked about the Bass Pro Shop's naked guy.
Oh, this dude 100%.
This guy's better than the Bass Pro Shop's
Yeah, because
guy.
I'm not going to jail.
We're not sure who behaves worse, the Riot or their dogs.
I don't even know how to behave like a real human being.
The Riot, Radio U.
Space news that might actually get you a little excited. However, I don't think it involves NASA at all. But yesterday was a big day for space. After an 8-month delay, a rocket was sent into space by Texas-based company Celestis, and that rocket included the remains of 330 people. So those people, after their death, they now get to remain in space, possibly forever.
That had to be an expensive setup
Yeah,
for their fam.
Well, it depends. Like some of the remains belong to George Washington. Maybe you've heard of him.
He didn't think he was going to space. when
He didn't even know what
passed
space
away.
was. It was, what was it, 1700s? George
Yeah,
Washington
exactly.
was around?
He was thinking, bury me in the ground. He wasn't even thinking cremation, I don't think.
No, yeah. He probably thought that the sun revolved around the earth. He had
So
no
now we're just
idea.
blasting him wherever we want.
Oh,
we just
yeah.
own George Washington
Yeah,
now.
are we allowed to do that?
That seems
I mean,
kind of unethical.
It's too late
Who's
now.
signed off on that?
I don't know who's in charge of that. But who's in charge of George Washington's remains? But he's one of the people. I have to imagine they didn't blast all of George Washington into space.
Well, also this, George Washington was for sure buried into the ground.
Yeah.
How did they get him? I mean, do I have to even finish the sentence?
Yeah. No,
In the
that's,
rocket?
I had a similar thought. I was like, I'm actually impressed that they were able to preserve George Washington for this long in those days. I know the Egyptians, like thousands of years ago, were mummifying people, but how much of that knowledge carried over to the, revolutionary United States era, revolutionary
I'm
era?
going to say zero. I'm going to say zero.
I didn't think they were
Did they
preserving
just,
people
like,
that
pull
well,
his casket?
but evidently.
This feels so wrong.
But he wasn't the only
I think
one.
This is illegal, actually.
There's 329 other folks that had their remains
Even
blasted
more
into
illegal.
space, including the creator. This is fitting. The creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry. His remains
he might have
also.
signed up for that.
It seems like something he might have wanted. JFK, also.
Maybe
among
he
those.
signed up for it. How do you get on this list? Who asked
Space
you
was a
this?
pretty big thing when JFK, because that was shortly before we went to space.
Yeah.
To the moon. So he might have been into it. Probably a big NASA fan. I don't know. Guess I could read up on that. But yeah, and then 327 other people who are probably less famous now have their remains in space as well, thanks to this company sending them into space with the inaugural Celestis' inaugural Enterprise flight.
Yeah, it just feels wrong. Like, it feels like we're just doing whatever we want with people.
I mean, George Washington notwithstanding, I think most of the other ones, probably them or their families, their surviving families, have probably signed off, agreed to this, thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, I know they think it's a cool idea, but I also could see many of these guys and gals being like, I want to be buried where I grew up,
Yeah.
where I lived. I want it in my own backyard where I made all my memories. Put me in the ground
I really don't
here.
think anybody. I don't think anybody they shot into space. I don't think they had that accent. If I had to guess,
I would say George Washington probably pretty close to that.
He probably sounded British. I would think.
And you don't think that he was one of those guys that was like, put me in the ground here where I created this country?
Well, I mean, at what point does the statute of limitations, expire?
I guess once you're like,
yeah.
I guess once you're just like a 300-year-old person,
Mhm.
then you're just like essentially a character that we've just
Yeah.
created. We can just do whatever we
Right.
want with.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Who's gonna stop us?
Mhm.
Would you want to be? Would you want any of your remains to go into space? Set the record straight right now.
I would say no. So 300 years from now, if you try to
Uh-huh.
set me up there,
Yeah.
know that I did not consent to this.
Yeah.
You have me on the record.
Disinformation, mispronunciations, bad impressions. That's Hudson. This is The Riot on Radio U.
The American Red Cross needs your help. They are reporting they're calling it an emergency. They are at the lowest blood donation levels that they've seen in 20 years. And so they're calling for people to get out there, get back to donating blood so that they can build up that blood bank and help people out who really need it.
Well, an emergency, especially of this matter,
Mm-hmm.
from the Red Cross, this means serious business. You like donating blood.
I donate plasma.
Oh, so you donate what's just so generous. Yeah, I thought you were a generous guy, Hudson. The plasma, this seems like this is all about putting some money in your pockets.
Well, wouldn't you, given the choice of donating something, donate the thing that you can get paid for?
But listen, this is about the greater good.
Uh-huh. Well, my plasma
Mm-hmm.
does good things.
There's some good things.
It does different good things that I can't. I'm only one man, Isaiah.
I know,
I'm
I
only
know.
one man.
But you have to make up for two because as you may know,
Uh-huh.
I'm afraid to give blood.
I know. So who's the real bad guy here?
Well, it's not
Who's
that
the real coward?
I was hoping that maybe you would just flip over to blood donating.
Yeah, well, I could donate blood, but then what about all the people that are in the patients that are counting on my plasma
'Cause
donations
you are,
to keep
yep.
them going?
See, for me, I'm too afraid.
Yeah.
Is anybody else? It's not that it's a weird thing. I'm not afraid of needles.
Sounds like you're afraid of needles.
See, I'm cool with shots. I'm cool with all that jazz.
Uh-huh.
The thing that freaks me out about giving blood, drawing blood, anything, an IV as well,
Yeah.
is like a tube either putting in or taking things out of me. So the whole like taking my blood thing,
Yeah.
that's the part that is scary for me. I'm cool with the shot because it's like 1 second, boom, bang,
Yeah,
done.
right.
But when you hook me up and you're pulling from me, then things start getting weird in my head.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
tell
like that.
you, it was unsettling, I guess, more so at first. I still don't necessarily like when you donate blood or you do plasma or anything like that, where they put an IV in you and you can see the blood
Ugh.
like filling up a bag
Don't even
or
get me
flowing in
started.
and out of you is not my favorite thing in the world. But I still think we should encourage people. The American Red Cross, they are asking people to help out and donate. And while it is true, you can't donate blood as often as you can donate plasma because you can do that twice a week. Blood once every 8 weeks. But plasma you get paid for. Blood you get things like there's blood drives. They'll give you tickets to games. They give you cookies, right? Everybody loves the cookies at the end. So there are rewards. Plus, obviously, a good deed is its own reward. So you can help out the American Red Cross, do a blood donation.
Also, look into your own company. A lot of times, like big workplaces.
Oh, yeah.
Like my roommate used to get days off for donating blood. He would get
Nice.
every time he donated blood, he would get a half day of work off. We should start that at Radio
If
U.
we started that
Unfortunately, I
here-
cannot even participate because I'm too afraid.
If you wouldn't participate even if you got
Nope.
an extra vacation
Same
day.
as Zach here. He said I donated blood once when I was in high school 25 years ago. I passed out, had a hard time recovering from it. Haven't done it since. Zach, I'm in the same shoes as you, except I never had a bad experience. I've just never done it because I'm too big of a baby.
You haven't even given it a chance.
But for everybody who can, if you're man enough
yeah.
to go donate blood or ladylike enough, go do it.
Yeah, do it. No, we definitely encourage the blood giving.
Disinformation, mispronunciations, bad impressions. That's Hudson. This is The Riot on Radio U.
Some big NBA news. Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors has been reinstated in the NBA. You go back in time a few weeks, you might remember he was suspended indefinitely after an incident on the court where he swung around wildly and hit another player, Jusuf Nurkic, in the face. And that was enough for the NBA to finally say, look, this keeps seeming to be a problem with you. We're going to suspend you indefinitely. You're going to need to get some anger management, some impulse control treatment. And so he has, and now he's been reinstated. Now he claims on his podcast that he threatened to retire during this suspension. He said that he told the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, this is too much for me. I'm going to retire. And Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, talked him out of it. What do you think? He's being dramatic?
The league said, can you just stop punching and choking people?
Yeah.
And Draymond is like, this is too much. I got to get out of here. I need to retire. Like he's pulling the victim card.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a for sure cop out to me rather than someone who's actually learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about, Draymond? I think I'm just going to have to hang it up after all these incidents and suspensions, and I just can't stop playing basketball the way that I do.
Yeah. It's like you get caught cheating by your girlfriend, and you're like, if you're going to keep looking at my phone, then I'm just going to break up with you. That's exactly what he's doing.
That's spot on.
And Adam Silver called him on. He says, you're making a rash decision, and I won't let you do that. He's just really proving the point. Draymond, showing that he can't keep his emotions in check, goes on to not keep his emotions in check. Makes an emotional decision. Fortunately, he was talked out of it, but now he's back. What do you think happens next? Because what do you think the odds are that he doesn't punch or kick somebody?
Yeah, exactly.
Before the season's end.
What is going on here? What is the next move? Where do you go from this?
Yeah.
We've got obviously multiple suspensions, a rash of just horrible basketball, of him swinging, kicking, screaming, and now it's come full circle to, I don't know if I can play if I can't be bad. So what does he do now? Where do we go with Draymond here?
They say that the NBA and him are going to continue on having regular check-ins. I don't know if that means him and the commissioner. He's still going to continue to get some kind of treatment or counseling or whatever to try to keep his anger in check. I guess I'm hopeful for his sake because he's actually a good player, as annoying as he is. And you just, you want people to play the game the right way. But at the same time, I don't know that I really, really believe. It doesn't sound like he is particularly remorseful or has really learned a whole heck of a lot.
Like he's 33 years old. He's acting like a big baby.
Yeah.
He's acting like a child who's been punished, and now he's pouting and saying, you know what? I'll just take my ball and go. I'm just not going to play anymore. Show everybody else. Draymond, you're a grown man.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you got in trouble for doing the wrong thing. Time to strap it back up and go play basketball the way that you should be playing it the entire time.
I know basketball is an emotional game, but it's not that hard to not kick and hit and choke people.
Everyone else in the league has found a way to do it. You can do it.
There's never been a can of worms they didn't open. The Riot, Radio U.
Oreos. They are a golden Oreo, but then internally, the cream inside is black and white, much like a black and white cookie for which they are named. So it might sound similar to a regular Oreo. I don't think it is. Or I guess we'll be the judges of that once we actually taste these things here. Isaiah, do you like an ordinary black and white cookie?
I like the regular Oreos.
Mhm.
I like the vanilla Oreos.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had them together.
Can I say that these seem to have a distinctive, different smell than a standard golden Oreo does? So this is surely gonna get something different, and you can tell by the look of the cream too, the color of the cream. It's not even neither cream. I don't think is the same as what you would get in any normal Oreo that you would get. So this is a completely, by and large, brand new product. It smells good.
I've got high hopes for this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try, like, I'm not a huge fan of the weird Oreos, but sometimes they hit. A lot of times they miss for me because I love the regular ones so much. And I do love the regular vanilla so much. And so when I see this here, this intrigues me as to maybe something that could be good and not in a really weird way.
I've taken a bite here, and I'll tell you, this is good. This is good. This is Oreo at its best. It is clearly different from an Oreo.
Yep. Okay.
It's a different flavor. It actually, you know what it is reminiscent of?
Give it to me.
You know those cookies, the black and white cookies, sure, it kind of tastes like that, but what it really tastes like is those cookies you get that are sandwich cookies that aren't Oreos. You know what I'm talking about? But they're not knockoff Oreos. They're like a different kind of sandwich cookie. I think they're maybe duplex is what they're called. That's what this tastes like, but better.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the straight up sandwich. Yep.
Yep.
The top's white, the bottom's black.
Uh-huh. It tastes like those, but like Oreo did it so it tastes better than those.
These are good.
They're good. I do want to split one apart and taste the
Just
cream
the
on its
cream.
own. Because
Yep.
I mean, I guess we know what a golden Oreo tastes like.
This is a nice mix too, because I'm someone who doesn't love, like my roommate loves chocolate, very chocolate person. I am not a chocolate cake, chocolate icing guy. It's a little bit too much for me, a little bit too rich.
Yeah.
Where this, and sometimes Oreos, and I like Oreos, sometimes Oreos can be a bit abrasive in the richness.
It can be much.
Where this here is a good mix in between. Oreos already aren't too chocolatey, but this right here, if you like a little bit of vanilla in you, oh, this is good.
This is unique. I just licked the entire pad of icing, the black and white cookie icing out of the middle. And this is a unique Oreo because I actually think it's better when it's completely intact. And I can only imagine how much better it would be if we had milk to go with it.
Oh,
to
yeah,
dip
it'd be
it
very
in.
good.
But this is high marks for me. This is the last time. I can't remember the last time I was so excited about a new Oreo flavor after tasting it.
Usually they miss. I'm not going to lie. I like Oreos, but usually the weird flavors for me are always a miss. This is not a miss.
I would like to close it out before we give it a rating. The one negative mark I would give is look at that size of the package of Oreos. Does it not seem small to you?
It's for sure small. How much
It's so
was
tiny.
it?
It was $3.50.
It's probably the standard price, but it is small.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought when I bought it, I thought $3.50. That doesn't seem egregious. But then I saw the size of it, and then I looked at the back. You know how many cookies are in there?
How many?
20.
Yeah, it's about the size of my hand. My hand covers the whole front of it,
Now,
and that is not a normal size of Oreos.
I guess I could be upset about the size of the package, but then again, maybe that's Oreo saving us from ourselves, limiting you to 20 cookies at a time, unless you buy more.
So what's the rating this morning?
This is would buy again for sure.
Which reaches the 4
So 4.5
out of 5.
Very good.
I'm gonna give it a 4.3, 4.2, 4.3 area. I would say this stacks up with the regular Oreo.
It does. It is on that level.
There's never been a can of worms they didn't open. The Riot, Radio U.
New job. You're out there looking for somewhere else to work. And then the question becomes, filling out a resume, is it ever okay to lie? Because that's a debate that's now been sparked by somebody on the Table Moments podcast.
Lie on your resume. It works. Hiring departments do not double check. After your first job out of college, these employers don't check. They don't contact the school for transcripts. They don't contact to see what you studied. Nobody ever asks for proof. They just assume if you're not completely out of the water, you know how to do the job, you just don't have the qualifications to lie. Obviously, employers are going to feel some type of way about it, but like they're the ones who are lazy, who aren't going to do any background checks. It's like, what about references? Most of the people you give them, they're probably not going to even call. If you really just need a job, you could say you got a master's degree from whatever. No one's going to question it. Companies are lazy.
Dang, he said not even lie about like, fudge the numbers on qualifications. He said make up a master's degree. Nobody's going to check.
I like the audacity. That's a lot of audacity.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do you stand on this? Have you been lying about your college degree this entire time?
No, I have not lied on my resume yet. I have not. But I don't hate what he's saying. I think that maybe he's went a little bit farther than I would be comfortable with it. I'm not lying about a master's degree.
No, yeah, that's crazy.
Because for the main reason, if nothing else, I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to ever be in the position where I have to have the conversation of, we just called and you don't have this or you don't have that. That's the conversation that I don't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the same time, I'm not going to lie about places I've worked, but skills, people often lie about skills.
Yes.
If you think that you are competent in Microsoft Excel until you've seen someone who actually knows how to use Microsoft Excel, they're competent. We are not competent in Microsoft Excel. What's it on my resume?
But who
Maybe
doesn't put that on their resume?
Exactly. If you think you're competent in this, that, or whatever, they're going to teach you when you get there what you actually need to know.
Yeah, I would say my best advice would be you can put anything on your resume that you think you can back up in an interview. So if they do, I guess if they ask you about your master's degree in an interview and you made it up, you might be able to squeeze through on that. But eventually, I feel like that's going to come to light.
It's going to catch up to you.
Yeah, eventually. But when it again comes to skills, when it comes to numbers of certain things, you can, I think, fudging them a little bit to pump them up isn't the worst thing. I think that the other thing you have to keep in mind with resumes is that not only do you have to consider like what qualifications you're putting on there, but you also have to consider that many places, and this guy probably would agree with this, many places never even look at your resume personally.
Yep.
They're just looking at all the keywords, having some AI or whatever look at all the keywords. And so you actually have to think about that more than the real substance of your resume, depending on what you're applying for.
Yeah, many a times, like this is the crazy thing though, is when I've applied to my jobs, they have reached out to my references. I know for a fact because my references tell me. They're like, hey, just talk to wherever. Are you thinking about going here? Which happened here at RadioU. They did reach out to my references. I know they did. And so when I think about him saying they don't reach out to him, I don't want to be put in a position where that could possibly happen to me. But I think skills-wise, you can tell if you have something or if you don't, even if maybe your resume shouldn't say that you have proficiency in this because you don't have a actual qualification for it, but you feel as if you can do it. If you feel you can get the job done, then put it on there.
I think we got to bring this back because people are chiming in with their thoughts. So let us know what you think. Is it ever okay to lie in your resume? 8772 Radio U. And we'll get to some of the responses coming up next.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow @RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
Is it ever okay to lie on your resume? Because there's a big debate going on. This is the time of year for it, too. So many people updating their resumes, trying to find a new job for the new year. And so we've got people chiming in. People like Gabe, who says that let your yes be yes and your no be no. He says his employers have always checked his references. So you can get caught, but then, I guess you could just have references that will lie for you. Also, I was taught to not put references.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because if they if employers want your references, they will ask for them.
Interesting.
Tiffany also says that it's not fair to lie on your resume. It's not fair to the people who actually have the qualifications. If a company doesn't check your qualifications, then is that a job you want to work at? You really wanted me to answer that, Tiffany? Depends how much they pay. You know, also, though, and this is somebody. I saw somebody say this online. Is that bosses, like when they're putting out, and I think a lot of us know this, when they're putting out the job postings, they're saying they're asking for unrealistic qualifications, especially based on many jobs for the pay that they're planning on giving you. Recruiters are honest about this, is that they put out unrealistic expectations, knowing that it's unlikely they'll be able to find somebody that meets those. But then that weeds out the people that are clearly unqualified, because they'll just see all of this list and go, well, I know I don't have all of that. And then the people that are closer, maybe they lie, maybe they're at least close enough, but at least they put their name in the running. But good comments for sure. It is something to think about. Let's see who else was checking in. Jason says, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Jason, you dirty dog.
You dirty dog.
Zach says, what would radio DJs lie about on their resume? The best part about my resume is there's so many things on it that could be such a sham that you would never be able to unprove.
So, I mean, in a lot of lines of work, and radio is probably one of them, it's unprovable. It's just an unprovable mess.
I can think of multiple of them on my resume right now.
But
the radio you could have never verified. There's no chance they could have ever verified.
If we want to make this more like, if you want to get into the radio world, our resume, even though we do create resumes, our real resume is our tape. I guess you wouldn't call it a tape now. Like an air check is the industry term, and that's like the clips of us doing radio stuff. And even that is fakeable. So to make it sound like you actually know what you're doing. So in radio, it is tough. It's kind of hard to know if somebody's any good.
How do you think we got hired?
Yeah, that's right. Until you actually force them to do it. So, I hope to be good one day.
Billy said, no way I'm lying about a master's degree. I used to be a manager, and it was easy to spot out people that were not telling the truth on their resume. Plus, I don't want to be 5 years into my job and just immediately fired if someone rats me out. Can you imagine? At what point is it like, if I am a total sham, I've never worked in radio, whatever the career is before, and then somebody rats me out, like, do I get fired today?
It depends what it is.
It depends on the job, I
don't know if
think.
you're following the news, but I think it's similar along the same lines. Like the Harvard president had to step down in part because she was caught plagiarizing stuff when she was in college. And so I think that's along the similar lines, right? Where you can get, and obviously that's a higher profile job. But I think it's similar where if you get caught, it depends what you get caught for. The statute of limitations might never run out on lying.
Yeah, it's definitely
a big risk, big reward.
It's a twisty subject. If you want to lie on your resume, you can lie. If you don't want to lie, don't lie. Who knows you're lying though? Only you.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow @RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
It is The Riot on Radio U, 8772 Radio U. Something I don't know about you, Isaiah, exactly. I know that unlike me, you're fine with watching movie trailers, even if it's a movie you know you're going to watch and you're super jazzed about it. You'll still watch the trailer, even if it might spoil some stuff. But how adverse are you to just standard spoilers? Like if I told you the ending of, what's a movie you want to see?
Any of the new Marvel movies. I mean, I hate spoilers.
You do hate spoilers?
Oh, I hate it.
So you don't want to know if if Spider-Man dies in the next Spider-Verse movie.
No, I'm not. See, the kind of people that I really despise. You want to get on a low list with me?
Yeah.
You watch a movie with me, and you're one of those people that can't watch the movie without Googling the ending. If you Google the ending next to me, I want you to leave. I don't even want you to watch the movie with me. I want you out. You got to go. You can't be patient enough to watch the ending, to let it transform your mind as the movie goes along. Ride the roller coaster with me.
And the guessing game. Sometimes the guessing game.
That's the most fun part.
Right.
I don't want to know what the ending is because then it just ruins the middle. Then you can see everything coming from a mile away. I don't want it to happen that way. If you are a type of person that Google the end of the movie before the end, and you sit next to me and you know and I don't know, then now I just despise you.
Now, on that note then, how are you with movies that are, like, let's say, remakes of movies, or this feels unlikely, but movies where it's based off a book and you read the book. Does that trouble you?
I'm okay with that.
You like that?
Yeah, like Hunger Games, totally cool. A Series of Unfortunate Events, totally cool. The Giver, lots of movies like that.
Okay, what about this?
I'm cool with.
What about this? Again, what about if it's a movie that's either like a prequel or like a historical movie, so you know how it must end, even if because if it's based off a book and you know the book, you know the whole story. But what about when you know the ending, you don't know the ride along the way? How does that feel?
It feels like you really want me to say I don't like it, but I do. I am for prequels because I like the more information. Like the Hunger Games prequel, it definitely intrigues me. The backstory of President Snow.
Yeah.
As well as the Wonka prequel that just came out as well. Those both intrigue me. I like more information of things that I already love.
I would say, no, I don't have a problem with prequels or like historical movies where you know what happens. I don't have a problem with watching them. I like watching them, particularly like Wonka. I wasn't thinking about, but he's going to have a chocolate factory one day, right? I wasn't.
He can't die in the movie.
Yeah,
come on.
That wasn't troubling me when I watched it. It does sometimes, though. It does weigh in the back of my mind. I think it hurts my enjoyment of the movie a little bit. If I know how it must end, then I'm just like, well, how are they going to get there? And that's all I'm thinking. I can't enjoy the ride because I'm just thinking, how are they going to get from here to here? And it always intrigued me. But I think there's a positive sometimes with prequels, with knowing spoilers. And this is coming from me, somebody who tries to avoid most of those things at all costs. But I think the positive is a lot of times then you know that it must have a happy ending. You know that everything turns out okay. Oh, things look pretty bad for Wonka now, but it's going to turn out okay. He's going to get those Oompa Loompas. He's going to get that chocolate factory one day. It feels good to just have that assurance to know the story's going to turn out okay. And sometimes when you're going through life, it feels like you don't have that. You're playing out the story and you don't know the ending, if it's good or bad. And so your mind typically will go to, well, things are going to suck. This is going to have a sad ending. But when you have God, He is there to make sure. He is reminding you, hey, it has a happy ending. There's always a good ending to the story. That things will turn out okay. Jesus is, he's going to play the spoiler for you in the best kind of way, letting you know that wherever you are at the course of the story now, things might seem like they're in a difficult spot, but when you hang on to God, when you let Jesus carry you through, it's going to have a positive ending. You want to know more? Start talking to God. Let Him show you that. And go to RadioU.com/free gift. That's a good place to start as well. KB, it is The Riot.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow @RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
Now, Stanley Cups, clearly all the rage right now. Very popular. But anytime something becomes a fad like this, you run into problems with people faking them, counterfeits. And so police departments, it seems like around the country, are raising awareness, making sure that everybody knows to watch out for counterfeit listings for Stanley Cups, because you don't want to be caught empty-handed after handing over a few bucks for what is not the real thing.
But like, what is the real thing?
It's a Stanley Cup.
Which is
it's
a cup,
stainless steel, vacuum insulated, I believe.
But let me ask you this also, because people will say it's similar to like, this is a wide range here that I'm about to pull. Stick with me. Louis Vuitton. There's real bags.
Yeah.
Way expensive. There's fake bags.
Yep.
Way less expensive. Stanley Cup. There's real cups. Expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Now there's fake cups. Does it not serve a similar purpose because people wear fake Louis, fake Gucci?
Yeah.
It seems like a similar thing.
It depends. I'll tell you why. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, things of that nature, Coach, if you're going to rip that kind of stuff off, that is, would you say, equally a status symbol as it is the functionality of it, if not more so the status symbol, right?
The status symbol, yes.
You want the logo as much as you want the actual item. Stanley Cups, people love them. You know why they love them? Because of the functionality.
Oh, come on. Quit
People
it.
love the
That's
Stanley
why
Cups because
they're the best cup on the market.
Because I don't know if you
You're out of your
remember,
mind.
a gal's car lit on fire and the Stanley Cup survived it. You think a counterfeit Stanley Cup is going to be able to do that?
So you're telling me the Stanley Cup is the greatest cup ever made? That's why. I feel like people want it because of the Stanley. Would you still want the cup if the logo wasn't on it?
I think what I'm saying is I think that it's equal parts. That the reason that Stanley Cup is so highly thought of is the functionality. However, it is true. There's other brands that aren't even knockoff brands. They're real legitimate companies that make similar cups that work arguably just as well, if not maybe even better. Who knows?
I think the name of Stanley just carries a lot here.
It does.
I would say that if you did find one of these cheap ones, many a times you might not even be missing out. This could be a good spot for you.
Well,
who wants to pay $200 for this ridiculous cup?
Yeah. Well, you also have to think it's not just people getting counterfeit cups, it's fake listings for cups, and then you PayPal somebody and you're never seeing that money again, nor are you seeing a Stanley Cup. So now you have no money and no cup.
Yeah,
and your ice is melted.
If you're PayPaling somebody for a Stanley Cup,
yeah,
you got to check out where you're at.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow at RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
It is The Riots on Radio U, 8772 Radio U. I'm sure you saw it in the news, and we talked about it on the show yesterday. The Alaskan Airlines flight where the door blew off of the flight shortly after takeoff over the weekend. But we've got another story regarding that that's actually pretty impressive. And that is that when that door, which now they're also, by the way, saying is not a door, they're saying it's like they call it a plug. It's not technically a door, as if that makes a difference. The door that blew off of that Alaska Airlines plane took with it an iPhone. That iPhone fell from the sky, from that airplane, 16,000 feet to the ground. And you know why we're talking about this? Because the iPhone survived.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How?
It was because of Apple's creativity, workmanship, fine engineering, and just the quality of materials. That phone was able to survive a 16,000-foot skydive.
No.
Yeah, without a parachute. They found it still working.
No.
They did.
I'm looking at this phone. It's not even cracked. I've dropped my phone out of my pocket to the floor, and the screen has cracked. This iPhone screen, not cracked. You expect me, you take me for a fool if you think that I really believe this fell out of a plane, landed on the side of a road, and didn't even crack.
The person who found it, they, like you, skeptical that it would come from a plane. How could it survive? Basically unscathed. There was a few minor issues with it, but the phone did not have a screen lock on it. So opened it up, and it was on airplane mode with a travel confirmation and a baggage claim from Alaska Flight 1282. It doesn't get much more clear-cut than that, does it? How else would that phone get there?
I'm just in disbelief that the screen isn't cracked.
What better ad for Apple than this?
Incredible.
This is the ultimate drop test. You could shoot this phone out of a cannon. It seems like it would still survive. It'd still be functional at the end of the day.
The wild part is, too, as this person found this phone,
yeah,
they were able to open it up and get to the mail where they have the Alaska Airlines baggage receipt.
Yeah.
The crazy part for me is this person had no Face ID, no lock.
Yeah, that's crazy,
no password.
Too.
You just let them just open your
phone.
phone.
Let anybody have your phone. You're lucky this guy returned it and just keep it. Yeah. Factory reset.
I mean, he really was going through your mail.
Yeah. Think about all the bank passwords he probably... well, it seems like you don't even have passwords. Yeah.
He got to, this is how he figured out whose phone it was. He went through their mail to get to Alaska Airlines baggage receipt.
Yeah.
What else had he gone through at that point?
That's right.
And he didn't find out who the phone was before he got to the mail.
What else
it
had he
seems like he
accidentally
was snooping through your phone, I think.
Well.
He could have just called the first number in the contacts. It says dad.
I'm going to say in 2024, if you don't have any kind of screen lock on your phone, shame on you for what happens after you drop it out of a plane. Wolves at the gate. It is the riot.
Hudson is the maple syrup, and Isaiah is the power protein flapjack. This is the riot on Radio U.
Did you know Kim Kardashian had her own mobile game that you could get on your phone that was actually like endorsed by Kim Kardashian? She was responsible for it.
I did know that.
You did?
I did.
Did you play it?
I never played it. The only reason that I know that it was a thing, and I know that it's no longer a thing, my girlfriend told me over the weekend.
No way. Did she play it?
She must have.
That's crazy. But I mean, good for her. Was she really heartbroken then when, this past week, it got shut down? They shuttered Kim Kardashian. They call it Kim Kardashian Hollywood, it was called. They say it was similar to The Sims. I wasn't familiar with this until I saw that it got shut down.
See, I know that she played it. I didn't know what it was until you said it's similar to The Sims.
Yeah.
Because she still plays The Sims. Now, she likes The Sims. And so I assume that she must have played the game because she said over the weekend, she's like, oh, Kim Kardashian's game is no longer a thing. And in my mind, I'm like, she has a video game? Like, what console are we talking? Not a console.
Now, I just want to know really less about the Kim Kardashian game and more about your girlfriend playing Sims.
Yeah, she does play Sims.
Does she speak Simlish?
I'm sure she does.
Do you think
she
so?
knows the whole
lingo.
Thing. Yeah.
Well, Kim Kardashian, she had her game Hollywood that had been available on mobile phones for about a decade, it looks like. And it had a possibly small but devoted following towards the end, which is probably why it got shut down. However, the people that were into it were, like I said, devoted, or really into it. One of them so much so that they've started a petition. This gal has started up. Maybe this is your girlfriend. She's started. No, she has two children, but she says that she has started up a petition to try to get Kim Kardashian Hollywood back. But this is how you know. One, the petition does not have a lot of signatures at the moment. But this is how you know that this game must have really not have been popular, because Kim Kardashian, if she could make $5 off of it, she would keep it around. So that means it was costing her money probably to have this game going.
And Hudson, also, I want to correct a previous thing that you said.
Mm-hmm.
You said that the woman who is petitioning has two children. She is talking about children in the game.
Oh, I thought
No. When she says, and what about my kids? I got two kids, y'all.
I did think
she's talking about her children in the game.
I did think that having children named, because I saw the names L'Oreal and Akon were usual names to have for children.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think Akon's been a baby for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she ever grew. It's been 10 years that she's been two.
I guess so. What now? Think of the children. What is going to happen to them?
So that's what she said. She said, what am I supposed to do? Leave her to take care of my kids? Look at their room. This is heartbreaking, devastating. I've spent so much of my time invested into this game. And now she has to leave her children.
She's convinced me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sign this petition. Bring back Kim Kardashian Hollywood for the children. Akon and L'Oreal.
Or you just need to open up and you can just sign into Sims and you can start on there.
Yeah.
Start anew.
Start over. A new lease on life.
I know.
Find more Riot content online. Riot.radiou.com.